Because the family is, or at least should be, a unified front on the same page if everyone is going to move forward together. I think too many families are under the impression that once the person on the autism spectrum is corrected or behaves right or made to do well, that everything is suddenly going to be all right in that family. I can assure you that is not the case. The entire family needs therapy, not just the person on the autism spectrum. The entire family needs to be engaged and involved with the change so that they all move together forward, onward, and upward versus being left behind. And it also doesn't, or at least reduces the possibility of avoiding blame being put on each other. And speaking from my own experience, even accepting my own diagnosis, I couldn't accept that I had autism or accept my diagnosis until I knew my parents had accepted my diagnosis. That was a significant prerequisite that I think too many families overlook, that the child on the spectrum does not feel loved unless he or she knows that the parents love him or her no matter what. So I really encourage parents, siblings, close family members, and extended family members to be loving and accepting of the person on the spectrum. And everyone needs to be there for that person rather than looking to make them something they're not.
So speaking from your experience, did you feel that your parents didn't accept your autism when you were diagnosed?
There was initially denial, particularly when I was younger. I was about 4 years old when my aunt, my mother's sister, who was the autism specialist for the state of Illinois, where I was born, suggested that I might be on the spectrum. And my mother, I was her firstborn, didn't want to believe it. No, that's nonsense. All geniuses play in the corner by themselves and don't have time for the silly games that the other little kids play. And my aunt had other ideas and took me for an informal screening without my mother's knowledge and made it out to be like a play date. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm playing games, solving puzzles with my aunt. This is fun. And little did I know that I was getting screened for autism, and my mother eventually found out and totally freaked. And it wasn't until about 8 or 9 years later when the diagnostic criteria showed that I don't have to have an intellectual disability to be on the spectrum. And my mother had to come to her own terms on accepting that, yes, her firstborn son is on the spectrum, but that doesn't mean that she shouldn't love me, and that I can still have a good life. Because I think too many parents think that once an autism diagnosis is in the mix, that kid has no future. But let me assure you, that kid does and must have a future. It might be a little different than what you envisioned, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. Too many families are writing off their children's future before they can even happen once they learn of that diagnosis. Whereas my mother, once she came to terms with the denial and accepted me for who I was, started helping me have a future for myself. For example, my family found a condominium complex, and started shopping for a place for me, telling me, Tom, one day you're going to live here. And I had some hope for the future, thinking, oh, wow, I'm going to have my own place. I'm going to have my own freedom. I'm going to have my own future. I might have a roommate or someone that stays with me in this condo complex. So my parents were helping me see that I could have a life of my own. And once again, I think too many families are stopping or even eliminating their young people from having a future to call their own, and that is what's causing so many poor outcomes.
Mm-hmm. We see this also in other countries too, where there's a lack of understanding of what autism even is. And so doctors are telling parents that there is no hope. In the US, we talk about acceptance, but we forget that in other places around the world, they're not even really there yet. I mean, not to make the conversation so grim, but I think it's important to remember this so that we can empower people to become self-advocates in their communities, so that people can see Hey, actually, you know, just because you have autism doesn't mean that you can't become a public speaker or that you can't be gainfully employed. And it's from seeing those people in communities that these stigmas can be broken, stereotypes can be broken, and parents can be given hope.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons that I became a certified human potential coach, to see the potential and the possibilities. I think we tend to write off people on the autism spectrum as not being capable of doing X, Y, and Z, and that causes their lives to go downhill. So I want to challenge people to be not only aware of autism and how it affects or impacts the person, but be accepting. And with April on the horizon here, we have autism awareness. We also have autism acceptance, being loving and accepting. We are human beings. We are part of the human race, and we are here to stay. So I suggest you make the most with what you've got and help us live the life that we want, so that we can be the best version of ourselves. And as the conversation and the narrative of autism continues to evolve, I want to see Autism Action Month. From awareness to acceptance to action. What are you doing to help people on the autism spectrum? What are you doing to help them live the best life that they can, to pursue happiness? And that way everybody grows and evolves together.
I like that. Huh. Think you're onto something there, Tom. You've been watching Autism Knows No Borders. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know what you think in the comments section. Click here to watch this interview in its entirety. You can also find us on your favorite podcast app. Tune in each week for engaging conversations of how people across the globe are inspiring change and building community. Thanks for watching. Take care.